Hallelujah in the name of Lord Jesus Christ. I share a few words. My name is Fenny, and I actually am now attending Canoga Park Church. So to continue with Marion's testimony earlier about career path, I think God had really guided me throughout my college years, and also from graduating from school to also find jobs that I would say suit my lifestyle. So to start off, actually, when I was back in school, with my sister's suggestion that during the summertime I should look for internship opportunities to build my experiences, and so then maybe after finishing school it'll be a lot easier to find a full-time job. But I think it started out step by step in knowing to trust in God through these little stages. So for each of the summer, before the summer started, I'm always just sending out resumes, and of course when I was in school, those resumes are more of experiences that I have on campus. And I think it started out very simple in thinking that we had to put God first in priority. So just being on campus, as a student, I was even thinking of let me just find a job where I can sit there and then the money will roll in. And then as in being sitting at the information desk, for instance, I was really looking for an opportunity to just focus on my academic, but also have some cash, just as a student. So at that time, I looked at some of the opportunities on campus, and there happened to be a few. Actually, it is for information desk or gym where you can sit there, and just even on the weekends. And it started out with that, where I was thinking, okay, I can dedicate some of my time in doing so. But after my interview with the managers there on campus, they do have opportunity, and I was thinking, oh great, that was easy, that was very quick. But when they responded to me, they were telling me that, okay, well, it's based off of seniority, so the schedule is based, is you're I think I was a sophomore then or something, so they were saying that you have last option to choose. So it ends up that it was Friday night schedule and Saturday mornings. And I guess it was when I was, just to say, kind of backtrack, I was in Boston, and then at that time I started to rebuild my faith and go to church on a more consistent basis. And from that time I learned that Sabbath day is a day that God had put aside for us to rest. And at that time, even though I think I really wanted to have a job too, and then I was thinking, wow, everyone on campus, I think there's only about 10 positions open for those two positions, and they're usually open to these seniors. So when I even received the offer, I was actually really excited until I heard the schedule. And thank God I didn't think too much, even though I really liked the position. I was thinking, no, just because the schedule is based on Sabbath night, Friday night and Sabbath morning, I just decided to forget it. I'm just going to sleep over and then I'll just decline. And that kind of just took I figured God will have a plan for me. So it seemed really simple, but it was a process for me that I went through. So then after a couple of weeks, because I studied finance and econ, and one of my finance professors actually on campus, there is it's an investment, all the donations or endowment. There's all the professors, and I guess there's a group of students working with MBA students that work together to focus on investments in general. So at that time, I know that those opportunities is more for the graduate students. I didn't even consider about that, because you need recommendation from the professors, and then you also need good grades and all the above that I didn't even bother considering. But actually, a few weeks later, I met this student, and she was actually a senior too. And at that time, she was actually in that group. And it's a very selective group for finance majors, and one that I didn't even put a lot of thought into. And she shared with me about this opportunity, and then I was thinking, well, where do I start? At first, I had to approach all these professors, get all these recommendation letters, and then go through the interview process. And there's also the chair board of people on campus. So I was thinking, okay, well, I thought it was going to be a very tedious process, but it turns out that it was only a very quick 2 and 3, even a lot easier than the information desk opportunity. And I know that there were a lot of people waiting for that opportunity to interview with them. But I guess my point overall is that I ended up getting that opportunity, which is something that I totally didn't think about. Even though it was this opportunity on campus, it was that was the exact job I was thinking about. Okay, so the schedule turned out to be Sunday morning, which, Friday, Saturday, I was just really delighted that it doesn't conflict with Sabbath schedule. Sunday morning, I think since sophomore year up to senior year, that time was just blocked out just for me, and it fit all my academic schedules and classes. I walk in there and basically I learned about all the systems, all the financial systems that are used on Wall Street. I was thinking, wow, this is my major. This is going to help me on my resume even better. And on top of that, I work with professors doing research. So it started out very simple, and at the same time, I just work with professors and students, and not only to help my academic, but for the most part, I'm just sitting there studying at the same time, unless people have questions, and I'll be helping them out. So it started with my experience on campus, knowing that, if we put God first, He has His plans for us. And of course, that carries on to, like, for each of the summer plans I have, I just thought, God will make His arrangements for me. I mean, the reason why I'm in school is so that later on, I can find a career that will, mainly for a full-time position. So I'm just thinking that when I was in my first year, like, I really thank God my sister then too was looking into some opportunities in finance or accounting that I can gain some more experience in. So she shared with me about these programs that I don't know if it's called Inroads, and I know that I think it's for like minorities, but then a lot of the opportunities that are available there, it's like those resources are there, but maybe we don't know. I mean, even I don't know if the youth at our church know about these opportunities that are out there. But they make all these arrangements where you can get internships at Fortune 500 companies as well. So I started out one of my first summers at Edison, and then the second summer, just kind of wrap up a little quicker, is the second summer I ended up, at Citigroup? But it was at Citigroup. So because that second summer, I was thinking, usually summer internships are only like for about 3 months. So how can I find something that's for even half the summer? Because I had plans in going to London to study for part of their summer program. I was thinking, this is not really the way to build up my resume if I'm just, I don't know what companies out there are going to look for such a short-term temporary position. But thank God that He had His arrangements for me, and I ended up working at Citigroup, which was very close to home. So for each of the summers, first 2 summers, I flew back to California. I had time to spend with my family. And I think particularly that summer, I was thinking, I asked God for a lot of things in my prayer. I'm not shy. I would ask God that, okay, so this summer, I need job experience to build my resume. On top of that, I want to spend time with my family, and I want to travel. So I think, I don't think this, like, from what I learned, this is not really the approach to communicate with God, but I realized that when we have a very I always think, like, my heart was just thinking, He's almighty, He can provide, and He knows our requests as well. So through each of my prayers and my experiences and how He answered my prayers, it's just, solidifies our faith each time through each round. So sophomore year, I did get all those check off. I got to travel, go to London, spend time with my family being in California, and also have a very short internship at Citigroup. So on to my junior year, I was rather thinking, okay, well, I'm about to finish up with school because my plans were to graduate early. And at that time, I was thinking, okay, so junior year, internship experience is more of like trying to land your full-time opportunity after you finish school. So I don't know. I don't think I even applied to one of the companies out at Procter and Gamble out in Ohio. But I got phone calls and interviews because at that time I know I sent out my resumes everywhere, like Fortune companies, and thinking, or even through the resources on campus, career centers. So I'm thinking, okay, so how can I, reach out and get all these interviews and find something that would interest me, or where I will be. Will I be still out there in Boston, or will I be back here in the West Coast? And anyhow, the summer opportunity came around, and at that same time, from my experience on campus and the internships I have, I figured God's going to have some plans for me. Even if I don't have any plans, He will have a plan for me. And really thank God that summer was an opportunity for me to be out interning in Ohio, and there aren't that many members in Ohio. So the brothers and sisters in Boston, they were saying, just bring, actually they were encouraging me, don't go, there's no church. Why are you going out there just for an internship, And then at the same time, I'm thinking to myself, that's right, I really should put God in priority, and thinking Sabbath worship is very important. Then I realized that when I went out to Ohio, God really had His plans in each time, in each period of our life, because when I was in Ohio, it was a time where I was able to build my faith even more, even though there wasn't a church. But, I did bring the CDs with me and observe Sabbath on my own, and, thank God for His arrangements too. Like, I got to more of test my own faith, or see how much I value attending Sabbath service, because it was during that time when I was working there, like my last summer internship at Procter & Gamble, I drove up to Chicago, which was something I didn't even think about. I'm thinking 5-6 hour drive on my own. I don't even have a GPS. I just print out all these Google maps. I'm thinking, what if I miss an exit or like a detour? Because there's so many detours, and all I see is cornfields. But I ended up getting there all right, and I really thank God for that, because I can always, when God gives us these experiences, we can always look back and say, if God had walked with me through that time, then, next time, I wouldn't even question about it, which is what happened last year. I took a much shorter road trip, but it was just because when we had the heart to seek God. So, with that internship at Procter & Gamble, though, I thought I would, get a full-time opportunity there. It turns out that actually, by the end of the internship, I didn't get an offer to stay there in Ohio. And in my heart, I'm thinking, I put so much effort, so much time, and this is what happens in the end. And I'm thinking, well, what now? Am I going to, I have to basically start over in, I guess, like a job search when I get back to school, because that was like junior year, after I finished my junior year. So I was in my senior year, I was already doing a lot of job hunting since I was graduating I graduated in winter of 2008. So at that time, I'm thinking, all right, so I don't have anything prepared for me after I finish school. What am I going to do? Am I going to travel some more, or am I going to... everything was up in the air. I didn't know what I had planned. And at that time, I was rather... I was very frustrated with myself. I'm thinking, well, I would think at that time, this is kind of where I would focus in terms of like what industry I would go into, because working at Procter & Gamble, I really enjoyed the environment and the culture and the people that I've met. But it just seems like, if this plan is shut off, then you just have to go through another door. There just have to be another plan B. So I didn't dwell on that too much. And by the time I graduated in December, I came back to California. And I was telling my sister, because she too was going through some tough times. And we were thinking, I didn't know what to do. At that time, I didn't really have any job opportunity. But there were so many interviews that I went through with these Fortune companies, like the Big Four companies that I went through. I went through each round, but even to the final round, and then they bring me on site, and all these hotels and everything, and flights. They fly me out there to the headquarters. There were so many of those, and it always seemed like, is this God's plan for me? And it turns out that none of them follow through. So it must not have been God's plan. In the meantime, though, I know there was an undergraduate program, because I just graduated from school. I'm thinking, what else is there? And there was a opportunity to be at Disney, where they had an undergraduate associate program for any of the youth, who are interested too. They have like a 6-month half-year program that they have, and it's actually a good experience where you get to, I guess from my experience, I tried to test my waters in all these different industries to see what, I'd be interested in. So when I was at Disney, I was kind of frustrated, to be honest, because I was thinking, I am back in California, and I'm thinking, I don't know, I guess I just had these really, higher dreams where after I finished school, I would land a full-time opportunity, and all these, I'm sure a lot of us were thinking, I'm thinking from my friends that graduated before me, that was kind of like the plans all seemed to work out that way. So when I graduated, I didn't land a full-time position, even though I went through all these interviews for a full-time position. I ended up going through this internship program again. And at Disney, I was thinking, but the pay is so it's like, it's not even comparable to like what I was earning at Procter and Gamble. How can this be? I've already graduated, and then at least I've gained some more experiences on my resume, and how can this be? But I learned that looking back, just to reflect, God had His plan, because at that time, I didn't know God sent me back to help out my family. I realized that there was a really tough time where we had to go through some family situations, and then it was at that time my sister came and believed and was baptized, and then received the Holy Spirit, and all this went through in out of my imagination. But I mean, during that time, I didn't even think about that, because all my focus was about career, and then school's finished, and what are my friends doing. So, and not to mention, a lot of my friends, they've received these great opportunities working at Big Fours and Fortune companies, and I'm just standing there, I'm like, okay, what is going on? I go to the same school as they did, and, I had internships too, so it was just, that pressure really built. On top of that, with the family situation, I was thinking, this is not what I had planned for. I'm not even prepared for any of these challenges. So, I went through the program at Disney, and I really thank God for that time, though, that there really even was a job for me, because my sister, too, at that time, she was, did you get laid off at that time, too? Or about the same time, I think. But the drive, I ended up moving back home to Upland, and just driving in the LA traffic it's not something I was prepared for. Like, I have this thing about being in traffic, and I'm not a very good driver, first off. So I figured that, I don't know how I can keep this up. And I prayed about it to God, and it's more about complaining it to God the whole entire time, saying that God, you had to help me out here. So by the time I was home, I know that people that I work with in my group, they were all from out of state. But halfway through my program, one of the other interns, she's actually from where I live, out in like Ontario and Upland. So we were able to carpool. So I was thrilled when I figured that in the morning traffic, not having to wake up at 5 or 6, and just being out there much faster, not being bumper to bumper, and also on the way back too, it helped a lot. And right after I finished that opportunity at Disney, I didn't really know what was next. I didn't know if they were going to, keep me full-time there, or, if I had to look elsewhere. And it happened that my sister was also looking for a job out in Victorville, because at that time she also was going through the job search. And, well, we heard this, but, okay, so the thing is that she went through this interview process at Victorville, and she shared with me about the opportunities there. So I sent in a resume to the hiring manager. I mean, thanks to her kindness. At the same time, I didn't know what to expect, because I'm thinking, I'm in the entertainment industry, and working out in Victorville at Dr. Pepper Snapple Group, that's a beverage industry. And on top of that, that's a manufacturing site, and I have no experience working in the manufacturing. And I figured that'd be a great opportunity too. But I guess in my thought, I'm thinking, well, how can why would they hire me? That was kind of the first thing. I'm thinking, I don't really have the experience, and I'm not an accountant. I study finance and economics. I really don't know anything about accounting. And I just figured, well, I do need a job somehow. So I'm thinking, let's get that a shot. So by that time, I actually caught a fever. I actually remember very clearly. I had the interview over the phone, and the day that they were going to bring me in for an interview, I was actually very sick. I had fever, and I was vomiting, and all my nose, runny nose, all the symptoms were out. And I'm thinking, if God really wanted me to go for this interview, then all this should stop, or if He'll have His way for letting me go, and maybe God have other plans for me. Because at the same time, I still went through other interviews, and again, going through a final round, I didn't get any interviews. But this Dr. Pepper Snapple Group opportunity where I went that day, I think we had visitors, like visitation, like one of the, I don't know, it was Pastor Huang or one of the two pastors that came to visit us, and I guess I was already out of my bed. I'm thinking, okay, I just had to get ready and prepare for this interview, because miraculously I was fine, driving out to Victorville, and my mom was telling me, maybe I should drive you out there, The interview is it's kind of not just as far, but there's think there were a couple rounds where I was talking to the hiring manager and I guess also to HR too. But that morning I was up and all the symptoms went away. My fever was gone and I was ready to go. So I drove myself out to Victorville. I was praying the whole entire time thinking, really hoping that I can land a full-time opportunity. So when I got there, I really just, when I guess through each of my interviews, what I learned is that I pray to God during my interview to see if it's God's will that I can have that opportunity to work there. So thank God I did get that opportunity. And when I came back with the news to my sister, it was a surprise to her. But then also, as the month passes, I learned that, I didn't know if this was right for me. I started thinking, I asked God, I kept praying to God, I need a full-time job. And now I landed one, and it's all the way out in Victorville, which is on the way to Vegas. I'm thinking, I have to drive 100 miles round trip every day. I didn't know how long that would last. Because first off, I know when I was at Disney, I was praying to God that, if I can have another opportunity where I don't have to stay in traffic, I'd be delighted, That was what I prayed about. It's like, I don't want to be in traffic, I need a job. So after this opportunity at Disney, I ended up going to Dr. Pepper, and I was glad. I was thinking, great, no traffic. But 2-3 months in, I'm thinking, I don't like the distance, I can't handle the distance. So I think, I didn't know what I had. I was sharing with my sister then at that time, like, okay, maybe I need to adjust and correct the way I pray and be more specific in terms of, okay, not just the traffic, but also distance too. God, please help me out. So, I mean, through that time, actually, I thought about living out in Victorville, and there's no church out in Victorville, and every weekend I come back to Baldwin Park anyway. So, at that time, I'm thinking, okay, this will not work out if I were to drive, every day. It was every day. But thank God the manager was actually very, very nice. I mean, he had a lot of, there were a lot of mentors, and I learned a lot from that time when I was there. But just the drive really was too much for me. So I think when I was there, what happens? Am I making any sense right now, or? Okay. So
you're praying every day.
Yeah.
So you're very miserable.
Well, yes, that was true. I was very miserable, even though, thank God, I had the opportunity to, to be working every day, where I know, like, some of my friends, when I say my friends that had jobs, they were all out on the East Coast when I was in Boston. But I know a lot of my friends back in California, they've graduated for a year or two, and they're still looking for jobs. So when I share with them about my new job, they're saying that, I'm very fortunate and really thank God. But in my heart, I'm thinking, I can't do this driving. This just, like what my sister's saying, it's miserable for me. And then every time I come home, I kind of vent on the piano, so everyone in the house kind of thinks that, they can't tolerate it either. And then so I started to pray, and to pray every day after I came back from home, asking God, for another door for me. And at that time, I think I was I think I was just more of thinking, I really didn't know what was God's plan, but I didn't know how long that would last. And I know, like, for that 1 month or so, I lived out in Victorville, just moved out there, and I was renting. But I realized that I can't stay out there because there's nothing there except a prison and an airport and a manufacturing site. And then there's no, like to get food or something, I had to drive another 20 minutes to get food. It just did not work out that well. So at that time, I just come home and pray, and my mom too, she kind of noticed that, and I realized that because, from each trip, like, every day is like a 2 trip for me, in the morning and at night, and then I would come back much later, so that I would listen to, like, a sermon disc each time, on my way there and my way back, and then I started to pray more, and by the time I came back home, I kept praying, and then it wasn't until, like, 9 months later, I received an email from a biotechnology company out in Thousand Oaks, and at that time I was really surprised because this company, I didn't even know how to get my foot in the door. And usually, for the most part, we just submit resumes in a black hole, online database system, and kind of expect a response either from HR or who knows, and who knows when. That's the question. So then, when I received that email, I was really surprised. It was actually the hiring manager from from the biotech company. So at that time, I'm thinking, oh wow, I thought I had to go through HR and go through a tedious process, but I was thinking, if there's an interview, I'm going to go and give it a shot and see where it is at. And then I learned that this interview there were so many rounds. I don't know, like 4 or 5 rounds to it, and then 10 some interviews and a full day interview. So I didn't know how I would be able to make it all the way through the final round at the time. But thank God that when I was preparing for this interview, I really wanted to get into this company because I realized that, wow, the benefits and everything that I didn't even think about. I'm thinking, this is not just what I'm looking for, but not only just what I have in mind, but it's more than what I thought I could have imagined, God giving me this opportunity. So I went through several rounds of interview, and after I finished and, received the offer, I was asking these interview candidates, interviewers, what they were looking for and how did I end up in this position. And they were just sharing with me, and a lot of time, the first question they asked me is that, who do you know, who do you know working at Engine? And I'm like, I don't know anyone. And because they usually say that's because of, through personal networks or somehow you can get your foot in the door. But to be honest with you, I think with all my opportunities that I've had, it's not because of personal connection. I think it's because of the connection with God. So is that, it doesn't matter who knows you or who doesn't, but as long as, you build that relationship with God, God will open a way for us. And so, coming back to what they asked, I'm just telling them, actually, I didn't know anyone. I just submitted my resume. And I don't even remember when I submitted. Maybe that was, back when I was in school, sophomore year, because I didn't even think about how I could get into this company. So, I think what I was saying, Procter & Gamble, I didn't submit my resumes, and I don't know how they end up finding me. So really, I think it's God giving us opportunities, and same with Engine, too. So when I, finished up with my interviews, they also shared with me that actually through each round, they need approval from everyone. Not just, if there's a disagreement or a discord from one person, then this candidate is out. And I realized that I was interviewing with all these executives, and speaking that I don't really have that any experience. I don't know what is it that is really in me and that is not in other candidates too. What would make me stand out more. But I realized that in the same time when I was praying in my prayers, I learned that it's not just, about me, job opportunities. I need a great job, God. I realized that halfway through, I was also praying that, God, how can I serve you and serve you more too? I realized that when I was in Boston, because it's a smaller, it was prayer house, so there were less members. There's more opportunities to serve, and really God had answered that too, because being out in Thousand Oak, I'm now attending Canoga Park Church, and there's a lot of opportunities for sisters since there's not that many members there. And I think the two things is that I would say is that when we have our hearts in serving God and knowing that He has His best plan for us, then we don't have to worry too much in terms of when things are going to happen. Because just looking back, things that I thought would have happened, everything I planned for didn't work out, but it ended up for the better. And, we hear this from brothers and sisters and these testimonies, but it's also from my personal experience that even, I've been preaching to my sister for about 10 years, and it wasn't until this time, while we were looking for jobs and, graduating from school, coming back, that all of a sudden she's, she came, and really thank God for the opportunity. We don't know what it is that, when God's timing is for us, and at the same time we can learn from each other's experience. So may all the glory be unto His name. Amen. Thank you. Yeah.
I said thank God for sharing.
Yeah. That was okay.
Yeah. Thank you. Any questions for the two sisters here? No.
Don't be shy in your prayer. I realize that the more you ask, then the more God will bestow more blessings on us, and always have the heart to serve Him too.
It's a wonderful testimony.
Yeah, thank God for all of that. Even though I don't believe I've enjoyed it when I was going through those trials or so to speak.
But it's true, when you put God first.
Yeah.
He will take care.
Right. Though I think it does take like step by step. I think it was like the experiences that really helped me through when I was in college, especially that time about just something very simple. It's from the little details that really brought me to where I am at. And not to say, like, now that I'm working at Thousand Oaks at Imgen, there's no traffic because first off, I'm actually I'm across the street from the company, so I can walk to work. No traffic and no distance. So God really answered all my prayers. So thank God.
And Fenny was a little bit sneaky because like the day that she got the offer, she had been asking, well, when you pray, I guess like she also asked my mom to pray for her too. And so then my mom was praying with her several times, and even not with her, my mom would pray like on the side, like set a time to pray for her too. So I guess the power of praying, it really worked. So the day that she got the offer, because every day she come home, she's just very miserable and then playing piano like crazy. So we're like, we just cannot stand the noise anymore. But she would finally, she just convert all those energy to praying. So that day she got the offer, my mom was like, okay, the usual thing is just pray for her. And then on that day, she specifically told my mom that, hey, please pray for me, Mom, please pray for me for an hour. So my mom was like, okay, she's really miserable. So my mom prayed hard for 1 hour. After she was done with the hour praying, then she came out, she told her that, I want to bring you a good news. I got the offer. And my mom was about to spank her. It's like, what? You make me doing all the praying and you didn't tell me the good news first? And I would say the last prayer is more like appreciation,
Thanksgiving.
to God that giving this like unbelievable like opportunity. Because I myself actually once interviewed with Imgen, and this biotechnology company is so great to the point it's like Google or Microsoft. Like once you set your foot in there, you're good for your whole entire life. And long time ago, I had interviewed with them, but I never made it in. And even back then, my mentor even told me that she lived in Camarillo. At that time, that's very close to Thousand Oak. She tried so many times, she couldn't even get an interview, and I got an interview. So I was like, she was saying that, good job that you even have an interview with them. I mean, it's very hard to make it in, and so to me, it's like this is like unbelievable that when God's need His holy worker, the way how He arranged my sister to be in Canoga Park. Because they need a lot of holy worker. Even now, sometimes my sister will still try to recruit me. Hey, we have more opportunity. Do you want to come in here? Pray hard to God that you're willing to serve Him in Canoga Park. Maybe that will get you over here. And so, but I don't know. But I just think that when you put God in your high priority, that your first priority, everything work out for you. Because something that I think is impossible to achieve, but with God, everything is possible. Just like interviewing question that she asked me, something about that one of the questions she received was like, can you differentiate what's the depreciation versus amortization? And at that time, she asked me the same question, and I answered it correctly. And then I heard Fanny's response. I was like, what? You didn't get it right. How can you get it in? And she didn't answer a lot of questions they asked her. She didn't get those answered correctly.
Actually, during my interview, the interviewer was very kind. He was telling me that this is not how you should answer the question. You should answer it this way. So actually, I'm thinking really that opportunity is, God is the one who gives opportunities. And I mean, I'm thinking if I'm the interviewer, I would not have also brought this new candidate in, but actually realized that, there are a lot of things that they looked at, and more is that, that doesn't matter, but more about building up our relationship with God, which from this experiences too, it also helped myself, and hoping that this experience will also help others.
Yeah, I think that these experiments, it just strengthened my faith even more, because sometimes it's like when we are in a place where we don't know what to do next, just like when I'm looking for a job, I cannot find one, and I desperately want one, and sometimes I don't know that I got. You even hearing my prayer, what's the best plan? In our mind, we think that's the best plan, but God has something even better. And just like when I'm currently working for this job, sometimes in my downtime, I say my faith is weak, I would always use this testimony to rebuild my faith, that to tell myself that how did I end here? Even though I really don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I mean, there's still a lot of obstacles in my life, but I can always use this testimony to remind myself that He will have the best plan. I just need to be patient and continue to pray. So.